Hello, everyone, and welcome once more to Above the Curve. I'm Glenn Jones, and I'm joined today by Brad Nelson.
Hello.
Jerry Thompson.
Hi.
And Todd Anderson.
Hi. And our new desk.
Oh, yeah, we do have some new things on the show.
Some technology.
You might note
got
the
this
desk.
sweet TV up front with Above the Curve logo.
I don't know. It might be the difference between me and you, Brad, but I don't like brag about my things. You know?
Well, then why get new things if you're not going to brag?
Cause.
Just makes no sense to me.
Well, we do have a lot of things to talk about this week, most especially the Invitational coming up. But before that, we have to review SCG Richmond, the first weekend with Magic 2014. So the Richmond team sealed was actually won by Kyle Rose, Bruce Cowley, and Stephen Cowley.
Are they brothers? I couldn't tell.
Yeah. A little bit of old school there. Kyle Rose, obviously, an accomplished player that not a lot of people actually know from Virginia.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Brad had no idea.
I didn't know who it was either, honestly.
We're familiar
That was before my time.
with Kyle's 4 Pro Tour top 8s, including a win in London. And also, he won a team limited Grand Prix over a little team you might know by the name of Illuminati. He was
Brad's still just like, yeah, I don't know.
Brad's still up there.
Yeah.
No, I know who those were.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
It's on my piece of paper.
Oh, sure.
Well, so that's kind of interesting, mostly because, Huey is a team limited champion of years past as well, and now we have Kyle Rose, another team limited champion, taking down these team limited opens.
It's almost like when people say that people like Huey were really good at team formats, that they mean it. Like back in the day, people did a lot more like team drafting and stuff like that, and they're very well practiced. So these kids today, they just don't know.
I mean, we don't need to know.
All they know is
No,
standard and modern and legacy.
Hey man, you just go to mtgonline.com, you download the deck list. That's all I know, right? Like, moving on, we did do the Standard Open on Sunday, which was pretty interesting. The top 8 had a few spicy meatballs in it compared to standard top 8s of formats past. We saw a lot of stuff going on over the course of the Swiss rounds, but
Mostly it was Jun beating random junk.
Yeah, that was common. I'm not gonna lie.
We actually had a tally. We had a tally. It was like 5-1 Jun versus other on camera.
Insane.
It was gross.
So good weekend for Jund, I guess. Obviously, we saw some of those copies in the top 8. In fact, let's talk a little bit about Jund before we move on to talking about the winners deck. Because Jund adopted, Scavenging Ooze, which I think we all saw coming. Doomblade, also that coming as well. What was interesting to me was the guys playing Jund in the top 8 didn't really seem to have a lot of respect for Burning Earth. You think they're going to be able to keep running that way?
I'm pretty sure they're going to be able to, since the red decks didn't perform that well, and Burning Earth is probably best against Jund. I, for one, took Jund to the tournament and then was very afraid of Burning Earth and respected it a ton and ended up switching to Blitz, which was a huge mistake. Don't play Blitz. It's dead. It's done.
Just like Control, just like everything else.
Yeah.
And one of the things about the deck is I tried Burning Earth on the sideboard, and I actually just turn forwarded against Jund and got annihilated.
What?
Yes, just destroyed.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was in a side event, and I just got destroyed when I Burning Earthed them, and that's because he was able to just go Hunt Master and lose 2 life, and then flip it and kill a guy, and I was taking a bunch of shocks on my own, and that's probably a flaw of playing Burning Earth in Blitz, but Jund is an extremely good deck. I wish I played it, and I think it's going to be good for the entire duration of this format because it has so many good toys.
Sure.
All 2 months of it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not that surprising to have Jund be a very strong deck when you have all the possible sets available, obviously, especially with mana bases like these. One of the decks that doesn't employ a mana base like that was Mono Green.
There were a lot of basic lands.
Yeah, there were a lot of basic lands in this top 8. I feel like maybe some people played a little bit scared of Burning Earth, even in the tournament. Like, I saw a lot of those decks as well. Like, I played against Richard Wynn, who top 8'd in the Swiss rounds, and he took it all the way. Only Mutabolts and Forest in his Mono Green aggro
Didn't
deck.
take it all the way.
I mean, to the top 8,
Sure.
Todd, you have some experience with these Mono Green aggressive decks. Times past where you also failed to take it all the way.
That's true. Good beats. I'll take
So,
them.
what do you think about Richard's take?
All right, so the Mono Green deck is actually really cool. I'm not sure if his build is exactly where I want to be with it, but I do love the fact that now we have Arborelf and Llanowar to go into Predator Ooze. I think more things like Scavenging Ooze to protect yourself from imposing on Bear Rights decks would be good because Angel of Serenity is one of the cards that destroys you the most. But he was playing really cool cards like Revenge of the Hunted, I saw him blow out a couple people with it. He was also playing Crater of Behemoth, just doing all these really big, flashy things. And
What did you just say?
Hoof. Yeah, so I'm not sure if the deck is as good as it looked, but it did seem sweet, and Panda, Richard Wynn's a pretty good player, so he's able to go pretty far with the deck all the way to the top 4.
I think Panda has top 8'd every Open that I've been at in like the last 8 months.
Lucky charm.
He's definitely doing well in your presence, I would say.
Yeah.
His rate is just good overall, though, as well.
It's insane.
Yeah,
and it's all with green decks.
Yeah, he's on a little bit of a heater, for sure. One of the other monocolored decks, Mono White Humans. Obviously, that deck has existed in prior iterations. It got a lot, however, in M14. And we saw Imposing Sovereign, Banisher Priest, Brave the Elements, Mutavault. Brad, do you think the Mono White Humans deck is going to become like an aggro deck du jour, as it were, or is it just a flash in the pan?
I definitely think it's a good deck, but it's a flash in the pan in my opinion, because Brave the Elements is very good, but all the other decks are able to figure out the format, and then if you have to kill creatures in the other turns, you do kill them. And there's not a lot of aggressive starts that you can really get into and then Brave them. I mean, Brave is an amazing card, but I also feel like a lot of the other decks have 2 different types of permanents in play, so Brave doesn't always just win the game. And I just think that when you're a mono white deck, you're still just going to lose to turn 3 Olivias or Huntmasters flipping into Tragic Slips, things like that. Like, I just don't see the power level of the cards outside of Champion the Parish and Brave the Elements really holding that deck together.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I actually tried to build something pretty similar recently, like Geist of St. Traft splashed into the deck.
Sure.
Because Geist is so good with Brave the Elements, but I mean, it still was not consistently beating Jund, and I think that that's the deck you have to beat going into the Invitational.
I think that that's definitely fair to say. Well, I think we've also put it off long enough. We can officially give AJ his laurels. He did win the Standard Open.
Is that his first Open win?
No, not his first Open.
Sort of.
Well, yeah.
The last one they split the finals and then played it out and he won.
Yeah.
But like they negotiated a split, so his
I
opponent
count that as a win.
Well, his opponent got the trophy.
Oh, that's stupid.
Because he needed the points. So
yeah, I guess it is his
You
first
have to
cup
play
then,
for
so
the trophy. That's what me and CVM did one time. You have to play for the trophy.
Not everyone's silly like you, Todd.
yeah.
I say you just play it out. Just do it. Just
Play for
just
all
do
the
it.
money.
Yeah.
Zero
No
to
splits.
0.36 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to talk about the White Black Humans deck, but we're going to do that in the breakdown. All right, so obviously this deck put to use Zathrid Necromancer and Mutavault in a relatively predictable set of ways. Like, a lot of people saw this kind of a deck coming, and it bears even a little bit of a similarity to what we've seen happen already with original Aristocrats, which was, a Champion of the Parish deck way back when. So, Gerry, talk to me about how this deck is different from Aristocrats and, where it improves.
All right. First of all, I designed this myself. No, like Wizards didn't make this deck. This is a completely original idea. No, yeah, obviously it's like pretty obvious when you see Necromancer. You're just like, oh, I wonder if I can put that in a human shell. Okay, so what colors do you want to be? White, black. All right, do I want to play a third color? Probably not. And that's basically just like how I got to where I was. I was pretty worried about Burning Earth just because like, even though those decks might not be winning in a 9 or 10 round tournament, you're probably going to play against some mono red decks at some point. And if you're playing something like Aristocrats and you're on the draw, you have kind of a slow start, they have like a 1 and a 2 drop, and they play Burning Earth, you're probably just dead. So you don't really have to play 3 colors if you don't want to. If you don't want to take like 6 damage from your lands every game, you don't have to. But I think this deck is slightly different than Aristocrats. You don't have as much like of the sacrifice synergies going on. So your Blood Artists, even though you play them because they're really good in like Lingering Souls Mirrors, you don't always have a way to fireball them. Like you just have Cartel Aristocrat. AJ played a Bloodthrone Vampire, which I don't really approve of, but he said the card was great for him all day, so I don't know, maybe that's something to consider. But you also have like Champion of the Parish starts, which I got to use like pretty well. I mean, I played against a guy that had 4 Mutilates in his deck, and I got to kill him turn 4 on the draw when my champion was too big for his Mutilate. So
Wow.
that was pretty good. That was like a free game win in a match where I really needed it because his deck was just like all removal and Thragtusk and stuff. So that matchup was not that good. So Champion like gave me a free win. It's pretty nice. I don't know. I think the deck's good. I think the mana base is nice. Like everything comes into play untapped, but like there are pros and cons. So
I've been pretty impressed just by Mutavault in Standard, actually. Like, it was obviously one of the cards, I should say, that did the best in Richmond. Like, multiple decks in the top 8 featured Mutavault, and they're all different decks in a lot of ways. So I'm
Perhaps
I like it
because
for
he
that,
counts as every creature type. It's almost like he could go into any deck.
yeah.
Yeah, he can attack any opponent for lethal. So it definitely seems like a very cool deck, and props to AJ for the win. Todd, what kind of decks do you see this deck actually matching up well against? Because it's obviously a little strange to have a new archetype this deep in a format. It's not very common to have something like totally new spring up.
Sure. Well, honestly, it's not totally new. It's kind of a hybrid of these white-based human decks with champion mixed with variations on aristocrats. And you take a look at the deck, it does a lot of the similar things with Cartel Aristocrat. While you don't have Voice Resurgence, you do have Xanather Necromancer, which is very similar, although maybe a little less good because it's slower, but it's still very powerful. This deck matches up very well against Supreme Verdict, since you have so many creatures that can get value after they Supreme Verdict you. You have Lingering Souls, Xanather Necromancer, even Doom Traveler, and things like that. But the deck is just very powerful and consistent. And I really do like the fact that it is only 2 colors, so you're not taking so much damage from your lands, and you're just not losing to things like Burning Earth. And I would very much like to see some changes to the deck. Like Gerry said, I'm not sold on Bloodthorn Vampire. I think I would like more Orzhov Charms just because you want to kill Olivia Voldaren.
Yeah. But
other than that, the deck looks really sweet. It looks not necessarily fine-tuned, but very clean.
Okay.
A very original idea, and whoever invented it
should get a pat on the back.
Yeah, that's what's
up. So one of the more, I guess, interesting things about the Open Series versus the Invitational is, you kind of have a little bit of a different metagame. Like going into the Invitational, I think, you want to expect more of these like control and mid-rangey decks. Whereas in the Open Series, I actually usually plan for like a lot of creatures to show up.
Oh, yeah.
And we saw that in the top 8, of course, a lot of creature decks. So, Brad, contrast how good a deck you think White Black Humans is in an Open Series field versus like an Invitational field based on its matchups.
All right. Well, the thing about Invitational fields is that it's actually going to be really difficult to use that from like looking at past Invitationals, since this is the first Invitational where it's being played 2 weeks after the set came out. Usually an Invitational is a known metagame. The control decks know what they're playing against. They played against them before. Right now, it's up in the air. A new archetype just showed up in first place at the Open before the Invitational, and I don't think that the metagame is just going to be strictly control. I think there's just going to be a ton of different things. Like Hexproof still did very well at the Open. Even though it didn't break the top 8, it still showed up 3 copies in the top 16, making it a big force for going into the Invitational. And I think the Black-White Humans deck is pretty well positioned as long as the people don't come with enough hate, but they might not have enough time to figure out what that is and know the appropriate numbers for all the other matchups. So just going in with an aggressive, consistent strategy that is pretty resilient to a lot of removal spells, you definitely need 3 to 4 copies of Bonfires, Curses, or Wretch Bombs per game to actually just run through all of the different things that Black-White can do and finally attrition them out. So I would not fault anyone for playing this deck.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually a good point I hadn't really thought of. This is one of the more Pro Tour-esque invitationals based on just the structure. Like usually there's one Open Series weekend and then there's a Pro Tour like right after that for the standard Pro Tour.
Yeah.
I remember you spoiling Mono Green for a Pro Tour in exactly that fashion.
That's what happened twice.
I just want to say, can I kill a joke?
Sure.
The Invitational is not harder than a Pro Tour. I'm killing it right now.
I think it is.
No, you just refueled the flame, my friend.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. People had forgotten.
Any press is good press.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I'm a little worried. This might be like the first Invitational that I don't cash, just because of how it is. Like it's you guys have seen my Pro Tour records, you've seen my Invitational records, and
they're not comparable.
Well, I mean, you still got a little left over from the last one, right? Like. Or did you spend all that? Is it all gone?
Oh, it's gone. Yeah, just
okay.
incinerated it.
Yee, ouch. Well, this will be the first Legacy tournament we've had in a few weeks. We had to take a little bit of a breather for the pre-release and for this Team Sealed Open. So I'm looking forward to seeing some people playing Legacy at the Invitational. I'm sure you guys are looking forward to playing Legacy at the Invitational.
Not me.
Yes.
All right, well, at least Todd. We've got Todd. So let's go ahead and talk about Legacy, specifically with the Magic 2014 rules changes. We've already talked a little bit about how Magic 2014 is going to affect Standard. It's got a really huge impact there, and we've already seen some of it, mostly with Olivia Voldaren and these Jund decks. They have to play a little more removal. But in Legacy, I think it's going to be even more interesting this weekend because no one's actually gotten this under their belt yet. They haven't tried it out. So we're going to start by talking about one of the most important interactions with the Legends rule in Legacy, which is Geist of St. Traft. Todd, how is Geist of St. Traft going to work out now?
Well, I'm not actually sure how it's going to work out so well, but honestly, like, the card is very good on the play now, whereas before, if you were on the draw against another Geist of St. Traft deck, you could just play yours to legend and rule theirs. But now they're going to be attacking first, which means like they can play their tricks first. They can pump it with an equipment first. It's going to be chaos, man. Like there's not a whole lot of ways to deal with Geist in the format. There's like a few Wrath effects that people play. There's Liliana the Veil, maybe some Diabolic Edicts coming from the bug decks, but it's going to be really weird if you main deck Geist of Saint Traft in the Esper Deathblade deck, for example, and you play against a mirror where they're doing the same thing. I'm going to try to work, trying to figure out a way to trump it, but it seems insanely hard. I mean, maybe like days, maybe just more counter spells in general, but it's going to be rough.
Yeah, being able to break parity in Geist on Geist matchups seems pretty important. We can see some pretty weird solutions to that crop up potentially. I know BBD was tweeting looking for like just random ideas, and the only one I really thought of was like Knight of Infamy. It's like, well, now you can just attack in and block, but like who's playing Knight of Infamy in Legacy, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a little loose.
There's got to be a better pro white creature.
I mean, I feel like
Ice and Shade.
Yeah.
in Geist of Saint Traft mirrors, I definitely think that one of the more important cards that you're going to have are like mutagenic growths outside of the blue-white-red Geist Delver decks, since it's able to. It's more important to have your own Geist, and I think in the Deathblade matchups, it's just if both players have it, the player that played it first gets 4 damage in, or they just sit back on theirs trying to like do something with the Jace. I don't even think that's correct, like trying to fight their opponent's Jace. But I don't want to really invest like swords or other ways to get my Geist through in that matchup when it's already grinding and there's other resources. But Mutagenic Growth is probably, I think, the best card you're going to look for in blue-white-red Geist.
Interesting. I mean, I could definitely buy that. It's certainly one of the best ways to force your way through.
I like me a mutagenic growth.
Yeah.
I might play a few in my day.
No kidding. No
When Todd was averaging
kidding.
13 Phyrexia spells per deck or whatever.
Oh, it was more. It was definitely over. It was like 4 probe, 4 gut shot,
Misstep.
4 misstep.
Dismember.
They don't give you 20 life points so that you cannot use 19
So
of them,
yeah,
right?
somebody made a joke that my background on my computer was just every Phyrexian mana spell, so I could just pick whichever one I wanted, like Apostle's Blessing sometimes, Pith Driller.
Yeah, just dartboard it. Well, Gerry, there's another card that tends to, be a pretty big deal in Legacy that was previously subject to a Legend-esque rule. That would be Jace the Mind Sculptor.
David McDarby Sculptor.
Yeah. We just found out that Jace is going to be in From the Vault 20, so in addition to being already a Legacy staple, there will be even more of them around. in the near
everyone gets
future.
Jaces.
Yeah, everyone gets Jaces.
Except for me, probably, because I'm too lazy to find one of those things.
You go to
Too much
Target all
work.
the time buying Kajudos.
Yeah, I do. But they don't have From the Vaults at Target.
They might. Never know.
You never know. So, Gerry, how are Jace mirrors going to change? Because I imagine they're going to change a lot.
So it's kind of weird, like what Todd was saying with Geist is like you play a Geist and then they play a Geist and you just kind of like sit there like they kind of like trade already. But now it's like, all right, so if I play a Jace, I can Fate Seal or Brainstorm, and then they play a Jace, they get to do the same, but you get to untap the first turn with open mana. So I think like you playing the first Jace still puts you pretty far ahead, and I think it just makes these Legacy like mid-range blue deck mirror matches like more about just being on board. Stuff like Shardless Agent, which is conveniently very good against these unkillable Geist of Saint Drafts, is also very good against Jace the Mind Sculptor. So I don't know, still in love with that guy, and I'm pretty happy that they can't just like Jace my Jace, because like if I Shardless Agent into a Strix or Tarmogoyf or something like that, the board's locked up and I play a Jace, like I'm gonna be able to protect it probably. I don't want them to just play a Jace and kill my Jace. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't
you
think
don't
you
have to
should tell
worry about that.
Caitlin that you're in love with Shardless Agent. She'd be pretty broken.
Oh, she's cool with it.
I mean,
That's
isn't
just
there,
weird.
isn't there an
That's
argument to
love,
be had
yeah.
that
Dude,
if,
she played it in Hypergenesis. She probably loves her more than me.
isn't there an argument to be had that if you have these defensive cards for your Jace, you would rather them not have a Jace? Like you'd rather legend them out because your Shardless Agents are going to give you more advantage?
I don't think so, just because like I'm trying to build a board advantage. Like that was the plan with my deck before, because like I don't know, like should we be playing 3 or 4 Jaces? Like that's another topic, but
Sure.
I've played 3 for almost the entirety of Jace being in Legacy or whatever, and then like sometimes pulses. But I tried to like just vomit as many things into play as I could, so that if they play a Jace, then I want to like kill theirs and play mine. I don't want to just like play my Jace to kill theirs.
Yeah.
I would like to just kill it for free and keep my Jace.
So now you already get that exchange basically made available just by the rules
Yeah.
instead of by having to like actually work for it.
Yeah, I think the Jaces in the bug deck are typically better than the other Jace decks.
Interesting. Okay. What kind of tools do you think people might actually use to start fighting Jaces. I think it's going to be more important to attack them to death, as you're saying.
Pyroblast, Bloodbraid Elf, like there are decent things out there like that you can play instead of just playing Jaces. Punishing Fire is another like pretty rock solid one.
Yeah, Punishing Fire seems very strong.
Lavinia of the 10th.
Lavinia of the 10th. Come on, man. Come on. No. I know that you mentioned Pulse. What about Vindicate? That's a card that's seen
that one's good
one-shot play a fair bit.
I typically don't play white. So.
Sure. In these Esper Deathblade decks, it's been a pretty consistent one-of that a lot of people
Vindicate's
played.
nice, although like being able to pulse multiple things has come up a lot for me. Just like against Lingering Souls, which granted has seen a decline, seeing as how Todd keeps winning with this Esper Deathblade deck.
You know,
and he doesn't play
when
Lingering
Gerry
Souls,
tells
but-
me to stop playing Lingering Souls in my Esper decks, I listen to him.
Okay, well.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Deathrite is in a lot of decks right now, and it's hard to actually pay 5 mana for 4/1/1s.
Yeah, you have to decide are you going to kill that Deathrite or are you going to try and work around it?
Yeah.
And usually it's better to try and work around things.
Yeah, I mean,
There's so many other things you have to kill.
Yeah.
If you don't need Pulse to get value on Lingering Souls or, I don't know, like Empty the Warren, stuff like that, then yeah, Vindicate is fantastic. Like, just Stone Rain is awesome.
Yeah. Stone Rain into Wasteland into Jace? Is that...
Is that good?
Yeah.
All right, well, we do have the Invitational coming up, and we're going to try and help Brad decide what deck he might want to play in the Legacy portion in the next segment. Okay, so Brad, you've traditionally had a little bit of trouble with Legacy deck selection.
A little.
A little bit. Standard, not so much, but these Invitationals can be a little challenging for you.
Yep.
Well, we have 2 esteemed gentlemen of Legacy right to your left, so...
I see one.
Is there someone behind Todd?
Are you digging me or Jerry? Because I don't know.
I will let you guys guess.
I was thinking myself. I don't know, but
So I guess, set them up. What do you want here?
Okay, so I've had a difficult time with Legacy forever. And one of the things that inspired me was a couple weeks ago, we actually went to an open where I almost top 8'd. I went 6-0 and then lost 2 in a row because I couldn't draw. But that was with Esper Deathblade. And from that moment on, I'm just playing a Deathrite Shaman deck with Brainstorms and other things. And I really don't know which one's better between Esper Deathblade and Bug, but I have 2 people that are completely polarized on their opinions for the deck, so...
Because one of us is right and the other one's wrong.
Yes, and I don't know which one that is yet, so...
Could be either one of us.
But I'm going to play one of these decks at the Invitational. I don't know which one I want yet.
All right, well, let's kick it to Jerry first. Jerry, obviously, you've given Bug some bragging rights as of the last Invitational.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing okay, Did win the last Invitational, but the Invitational before that was a little rocky, but that was while I was still figuring things out. So, yeah, Todd won that one with my Shardless Bug deck. Imagine that. But, what? Okay, I'm talking here.
Go ahead.
Okay, so...
They're just boring arguments, so I was just yawning.
Yeah.
This is the red zone, man. Step up your game.
Todd's deck sucks. He's stupid for wanting to play it. Okay, so he started playing this deck and he did really well, but the thing that happened, as the weeks went on and everything, he was just like, okay, I want to cut Dark Confidant. I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And he's like, okay, so I also want to play some Abrupt Decays. I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. And he's like, well, what if I play Geist of Sage Trap to kill them? And I'm like, well, Shardless Agent is the exact same thing. It still kills them, but it just takes a little bit longer. But it also helps you in those grindy games where they have removal and stuff. It doesn't really matter if it's a 6/2 for 3 mana or 2 cards for 3 mana. And conveniently enough, Shardless Agent destroys Geist of Sage Trap. So Bug is basically a strictly better Deathblade deck. They do have Stoneforge Mystic, which basically sucks because it's a 1/2 creature. Anytime you draw your equipments, it's really bad. Sometimes you are able to protect it, or they just don't have it and it lives, and you batter skull someone playing Blue-Red Delver or whatever. But those matchups are probably pretty good. You're probably going to win them anyway. You don't need this high variance card in your deck. You want cards that are good on their own no matter what. Tarmogoyf, you play it turn 2 against Rogue Delver, and unless they have a Delver, they can't attack you anymore. Whereas Stoneforge Mystic, they can just bolt it or just ignore it because they have Tarmogoyfs or whatever. These cards are good when they're good, but they're 2s or 8s basically. Whereas everything in my deck is a 7. And I don't know. I would just rather have that type of thing. I'd rather not have a 4-color mana base. I don't want to play Swords to Plowshares instead of Abrupt Decay when there are non-creature permanents in the format. So.
I mean, I'm playing both. I don't know if that's...
Exactly. You're playing a bad Bug deck. You're just splashing white in your Bug deck.
I'm going to let you finish.
I think he's finished.
Yeah.
I think you're good.
Okay, well, I'm not going to let you. You already finished. All right, so I think that Esper Deathblade is the best deck in Legacy, and while Bug is a very strong deck, it's more consistent. You know, the mana base is a little better. Some of the cards have a little more synergy. I think that being able to change your deck significantly based on what you expect to face. I mean, as you saw over the course of the last month or two, you know, the deck went from very close to BBD's version with Dark Confidants, you know, and then we added more green so we could play Abrupt Decay, and then we even went so far as to add Geist of Saint Draft, and I think all those changes were positive ways to attack the metagame, and I don't see a reason to not play 4 colors, because the Bug deck already loses to Blood Moon, whereas our deck, you know, also loses to Blood Moon. There's not a huge deal there. With Deathrite Shaman and fixing your mana, it's really easy to cast all your spells, and I think that Stoneforge Mystic is actually very good. You know, it's not great against combo decks, it's a little slow, but against all the other fair decks, if you get a Batterskull online, or if you get an Umezawa's Jitte now in a format where you can't legend roll the other one out, it's going to be insanely difficult to beat that. You know, people do play Thoughtseize, they're able to strip those out of your hand, but I think Swords of Plowshares is really like one of the better cards in the deck, and one of the main reasons to play white.
All right.
I'm not done.
Oh, whoa.
Okay, like a lot of the stuff that you're saying is exactly what I was saying, where you're talking about your cards in the best case scenario. You're like, oh, I Stoneforge and then Batterskull them, or like my Deathrite lives, so it doesn't matter if I lose to Wasteland. But it's like that doesn't happen. Your things die. Like people interact with you in Legacy. You can't look at things like when they're performing at their absolute best. Otherwise, I would just play like Show and Tell or Storm or whatever. Like, oh, I just play 5 rituals and ad nauseum, you're dead.
Yeah, I mean, like that's a reasonable point, but I think that, you know, the deck is capable of like a ton of really good nut draws where you're able to turn 1 Deathrite into like turn 2 Wasteland Stoneforge Mystic, and the Bug deck just doesn't have that kind of raw power. Like,
okay, so I agree that, you know, you're putting a clock on them, disrupting them, killing them, whatever. But like if you're on the play with Deathrite and play something like Shardless Agent into just like even a Brainstorm or whatever, you're so far ahead. Like you don't need to actually just like kill them in 3 turns because the game is over. It's just going to take a little bit longer.
Sure. All right, so I'm not going to concede the argument, but I will say that Gerry is an insanely intelligent human being, or just insane. Can it be?
It's both. It is certainly both. I'm not going to argue that point, but we'll see who's playing what at the Invitational.
We'll see.
Yeah, it seems to be an argument based just on trade-offs, right? So, Brad, I guess, you know, there you go. You've got a couple choices there. Some food for thought. What do you think you're going to do?
I'm probably just going to play Belcher.
Okay,
That's a good idea.
perfect.
Disregard Levin.
Disregard Levin, play Belcher. Well, moving on. We do have the Invitational in Somerset this weekend. We have commentators Adrian Sullivan, Matthias Hunt, and Cedric Phillips. Ruben Bresler and myself will be working alongside in the sideboard. In addition to the Invitational, we have Standard and Legacy Opens, and we'll also have an Ascension Immortal tournament where you can immortalize yourself on an Ascension card if you win.
I do believe we also have a Classic at the tournament too, don't we?
A Sealed Classic.
Oh, well, there you go.
There's a ton of
Sealed
stuff,
Classic
man.
as well.
This is just a big Star City convention. Like, there's something every single day, all weekend, and starting on Friday. It's going to be awesome.
Are we rushing for something too?
Oh, I think in addition to all of those things, we are also giving away a bunch of free stuff. We have another Gold Rush. You might have heard of it. It's going to be Mythic Madness this time around. I believe it's 7 copies. I want to say 7 copies of like every Mythic, basically ever, and we're just going to randomly give those out.
Those are actually way better odds than other things, aren't they?
Well, no, if you're Todd, you just want to spike.
Yeah.
And you don't want, like, you know, to get a $60 card every time. You're like, it's a $1,000 card or bust.
Yeah. On the upside,
No,
you know,
I would love
everything's
a
like a
$60
quarter
card.
at least in this one, so that's
Well,
not
then,
so
can
bad.
I introduce you to Shardless Agent?
Oh, man. Well, in addition to that, we have another special treat for you guys. At the end of this particular Above the Curve, we're offering a survey. We want to improve the show beyond just sweet tables. So we need some ideas from you guys. We're going to ask for your help. If you complete the survey, you'll be entered into a drawing to win a box of Magic 2014.
35 packs. I have to open one of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Brad will
One
open
pack
one
short.
pack, sign all the cards, and send it
Keep
along
them.
with you.
Yeah.
All right, so
go big, Brad.
definitely just tune into the survey, give us some feedback.
We really want you
Yeah.
to do it. It'll help us a lot, and it'll help us help you.
Yeah, don't be afraid to tell us something is terrible. Lots of people do that all the time.
And then
anyway,
we'll
so
finally
it's clearly
realize
not a
who the
problem.
best host of Above the Curve
Yeah,
actually
also
is.
make sure you say that Brad is better than Glenn at hosting. Just make sure you put that in there
Sure.
in the comments
Now
section.
if anyone actually says that, we can't take it seriously. Though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you just destroyed our control.
The
group
next
here. We got
30
nothing.
episodes of Above the Curve.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Well, I guess we'll just run another one of these surveys in another 30 episodes.
And I'll tell them to do the same thing.
All right. Well, on behalf of Todd, Gerry, and Brad, I'm Glenn Jones, and thank you for watching.
Game against John. And it was really good.
Do you want to talk
but
to
I
me
don't know
yet?
if
Say
I'm
it!
for it.
Say Joe who? Say
It was
it!
like extremely good.
No, because you're gonna say Joe Mama.
Like you have, after Cyborg,
You know
you
me
got
too
like
well.
20 humans or something against John.
Bug is the best. Deathblade sucks. Anyone who plays Deathblade is a moron.
Okay.
Let's go. Box of gloves on, baby.
Fight.
Bonfire!
You'll get caught up in the...
Bonfire! Yeah! Yeah!